Okay.
Thank you. My name is Godfrey Mawira, and I'm an engineer. I work with the United Nations World Food Program based here in Bibiri, and I do lots of solar cooking. Today, we are having a demonstration here how to solar cook and store heat to the sun by means of a gadget called sun bucket. Now, sun bucket is a way of harnessing the heat of the sun and storing it in a form of a bucket. You harvest it and for use at night and during the day. So you can solar cook regardless of the time of the day, with or without the sun. And we have developed this technology. This is actually mainly work of the Sun Bucket from the US. We support from a group that is based here in Kenya called Eco Mandate. Eco Mandate is a community-based organization that I've helped to initiate, which is working primarily to protect and preserve the environment and reduce the impact on environment as a result of firewood use. And so the sun cooking helps to reduce over-reliance on firewood. I'm just going to do a demonstration of how it works. Here, what we have, this is called a parabolic dish. It's a solar cooker. Parabolic dish. The purpose of this is to receive the energy from the sun, the radiation, and by means of this reflective surface, which is curved, it focuses that energy into a central point, central position here, called the focal point. Now, this is where the actual cooking takes place. And when you need to harvest that energy so that you can use at night or any other time of the day, you use the sun bucket. So here is an example of the sun bucket. I have a sample of the sun bucket. I'm just going to show how you place the sun bucket on the focal point of the parabolic dish so that all the energy falling on this surface is received, that sun energy. And we are very blessed here, being in Africa, in Kenya, along equator, because the sun intensity is very high. So all that sun radiation, we don't want to lose any benefit of the sun. That's why these gadgets have been devised. And we are promoting this energy initiative, sustainable energy initiative in Africa, and particularly in the refugee camps where there is a huge firewood scarcity, and therefore we managed to address the problem of an environmental impact as a result of refugee influx into the country. So I would like to demonstrate here. I'd already started cooking with the sun, but unfortunately, that right now the sun has just set, and this is one of the sun buckets here. This one, the first sun bucket, is already charged. It has a lot of heat there, almost 350 degrees Celsius. And this is not charged. So I'll demonstrate with this one for safety aspect, for safety concerns. Well, when you are using the sun bucket, this thing is hot. It's hot like fire. So it's always advisable as a safety precaution to use the gloves. And here, this is a glass which you're supposed to hold the sun bucket and use to place it. You can place this, you place the sun bucket at the central point of the parabolic dish. This is a part. This part is here. This is the part that receives the heat. It is dark in color because, as you know, the dark surfaces absorb the heat radiation instead of emitting. So here, this part is where the heat is focused from the parabolic dish and is stored into the material here, the thermal material that conserves that heat. And they can stay for many hours, for several hours, until the time you are ready to cook. So, sorry. Let me just wear my glove. Just a minute. So this is the part that I'm going to focus. can't stop. Aha. The sand bucket onto the dish. The first step is to fasten or to anchor the dish firmly onto the ground. What we've done is just anchoring the dish onto the ground by means of the pegs, so that the weight of the dish of the bucket will not pull or will not topple the charging unit. This entire assembly is called the charging unit. And after you're fastened onto the ground, the dish has a mechanism for rotating it to focus depending on the direction of the sun. If the sun is here, we focus or we track the sun manually. And there is also another adjustment unit here, mechanism to adjust. This is the adjustment mechanism which you adjust depending on the altitude or the orientation of the sun. So when you rotate like this anti-clockwise, it goes down to focus the sun. You rotate clockwise, this, so you are adjusting degrees. Yeah, you are adjusting the angle of the dish. So the sun is here in the middle, so you adjust until you focus, until there is a maximum aperture of the sun falling onto the dish. That, yeah. So mainly once you adjust it, then you can easily move it like this to track the sun if the sun is moving like this, from the east to the west. When you are focused, the sun, the beam, the center is falling here. You can estimate, you can just estimate that the beam is focused here, so that to enhance safety and precaution, rotate it so that you place the sun bucket when the beam, when the sun is opposite in the direction. So you come with your sun bucket, and this sun bucket is equipped with a thermometer to indicate the heat gain. So this thermometer right now is reading about that, less than 40 degrees. So once we start charging, it will continue increasing. And inside the bucket we have the thermal material for heat storage, heat retention. You focus, you position the sun bucket, position it when the dish is facing away from the sun so that you don't burn. And then you position it like that, position it, and always ensure when you are positioning, ensure that the thermometer is facing away from you, like that, so that you can be able to trace, to check. Yeah. After you're done with the setting, then orient it appropriately to focus the sun. Right. So when it's properly focused to the sun, the entire beam should be falling here. To focus here, you see a star, a very bright spot. That is indicative that the entire heat of the sun, the beam is focused onto the center of the sun bucket, and then the harnessing of it starts. So the sun, or the radiation that is falling here, it becomes heat here, heat to cook, and it's gained. There is heat gain. You see the thermometer indicator rising. The arrow of the thermometer will continue rising. After 1 to 2 hours, this thermometer, depending on the cloud or the sky, the weather for the day, the thermometer will increase to almost 400 degrees Celsius. Once it gets to 350 degrees Celsius, now you're free to remove your sun bucket. And as I mentioned, it's always to observe safety precaution. We have the gloves. The sun bucket comes equipped with the gloves. These are for safety purpose. Always wear the gloves. And if it is torn, be very cautious. If it is wet, don't use, because it's very hot. If you place a fire with a piece of wood there, it will start lighting. It will get lit. So it's very high energy. Then remove. You remove it safely and carefully, and then place it onto the ground like that. There is fire there, it's very hot. Then this is the cover, it's the insulation. So use this to cover. So you cover, you place it like that. Now you have covered your heat. It's already harvested, it's stored in the sun bucket. You can take this to the house or to the store. So you have harvested your sun. You carried your sun to the house. The sun is in the house, you're ready to cook at night with the sun. Yeah, so we are done already a demonstration. The harvesting of the sun in the course of the day when there was sun, and already sun is stored here. So there is a lot of heat there, ready to cook a meal. So when I'm doing the cooking, I remove the cover. This is the insulating cover. I come and remove it like that. So now the fire is exposed, just like the way you use the electric cooker inside the house. So it's the same similar principle. And then you place the pot there with the food that you are cooking. The amount of heat that was gained was not so much because you did it for a few minutes, but you can see the gauge, yeah, it's still very high. The gauge, you can be able to do some water there. That's how hot it is. Very hot. That can cook. You can do pastries. You can grill. You can fry. You can cook your chapatis. All forms of cuisine, local cuisine, whether it's ugali or fish, or beef fry, beef stew, njugu karanga. Here, this is fantastic. The other use of the sun bucket is for house warming, like heating the room. Like you can imagine, we've just come from a very cold season, July. So if you place this in the house, it heats up the whole house. So you reduce your electricity bill. Yeah. So that is it. This is our technology, as I said. We are supporting it as Eco Mandate. Eco Mandate is a community-based organization based in Kenya, in Nairobi, in Kakuma, in Chuka, Tharaka County. And we are supporting women with this idea so that they harvest the sun during the day, fuel alternative. So we believe that we will be able to meet the Sustainable Development Goal number 7. So we envisage that we'll be able to achieve Sustainable Development Goal number 7 of universal access to energy for all. So we are doing all our best, the best we can, to support as many women as possible in East and Central Africa to access the sun bucket and use them for cooking back in their houses, whether during the day or at night in Africa. So you don't have to just cook with the sun during the day. You can cook at night. Many families cook at night. So this, we are trying to simulate the 3-stone cooking method. One of 3 stones, and you place a pot in the middle, and you mingle your ugali. They mingle the ugali very vigorously. So that's why also the sun bucket is stable, so that the cooking can take place using the normal traditional methods that people are used to. Currently, we are using the sun bucket to a few families in Kakuma. There are some families that have been supported within the refugee camp so that they can use it for cooking, their domestic cooking needs. So in Kakuma, that is the first place, not only in Kenya, but also in Africa, where this has been tried. And based now, because we are at the piloting stage, based on the feedback that we get, we'll be able to improve further on this initiative and scale it up. We are yet to get into the commercial production. because we are the testing mode, the piloting stage, and the results so far, they are very positive. We believe that it's going to be scaled up within the refugee camps in Kenya and in other parts of the world. Yeah, and also among the rural folks. Like in Kenya, people use they cut a lot of trees so that they saw that tree to dry, and like now we are coming to the festive season, Christmas. You find so many trees have been cut. Yeah, but if we supply the families with this, many Kenyan families will be able to cook without need to cut trees. Thank you. At the commercial level, we believe with the mass production there will be big economies of scale, and the cost for production of this can come down to below $500. That's below 50,000. Yeah, so those are the figures. But going progressively, the costs will continue to come down. So right now, the costs are very high because of the thermal material which are being used, and most of the parts are imported. But then we'll be able to develop that and reduce the cost, even go as low as below 20,000 Kenya shillings, $200. The sun bucket is able to store heat for up to 16 hours. It's always recommended that you begin the cooking from 4 to 6 hours. Between 4 to 6 hours, you have sufficient heat to cook. Within that period, 4 to 6 hours, there is heat, but the material is efficient in heat retention and can go up to 16 hours. Yeah. It also depends on what you are cooking, because if it's a low simmering cook or cuisine, you are able to cook even beyond 6 hours. Right now, we've not yet gotten a funding. We've not begun any activity based on any funding from closely the Sun Bucket. I command it in Sun Bucket from the US. Is working closely, and most of it has been from personal savings. Yeah, but we are looking forward to funding opportunities, and we are doing lots of applications for funding, and so far there have been very positive responses on our application. I was working in Kakuma one time as a physical site planner, and I witnessed massive environmental degradation as a result of cutting of trees for cooking. So that touched me, and I decided to do the best that I can to provide to the refugees a sustainable fuel alternative, instead of cutting trees or burning charcoal, or even but trading their food, portion of their food for charcoal. Because that I noticed that many families were having a negative impact on their nutritional standards, because if they have to sell some part of the already little food allocation from the NGOs and other humanitarian agencies, it was a big challenge. It was really a difficult situation seeing the refugee experience all that, and so I decided to do a research on solar cooking, which is what I've been working on even while working for United Nations. And so far, we've come up with different initiatives for supporting this idea. The refugees are beginning to understand or to embrace different sustainable cooking alternatives within the camp. Yeah. So the big challenge was addressing a solution, getting a solution to address the environmental impact from the refugee influx in the camp. I've given refugees for free, but at the commercial level, it will not be for free. There will be a token, just a token charged to the refugee, at least to meet the cost, the production cost. I bought in partnership with the different organizations, including the UN, so that we can be able to scale up this idea in both Kakuma, Dadaab, and the refugee camps in places like Ethiopia, Uganda, and South Sudan. So far, the sun cooking with the sun bucket is we are working with 3 families. There are 3 families in the camp, and in Kenya. So, but the idea of the solar cooking, there are several other families that we are supporting, not with the sun bucket, but with a mean of harvesting the sun, heat of the sun, and then cooking during the day. So the improvement that we have today is that in addition to cooking during the day, you can be able to harvest the sun and store it and cook at night. Yeah. So the initiative, the sun bucket initiative so far has impacted on 3 families in Kenya. So about 6 sun buckets and 3 charging units. They are already in Kenya in use. But the sun cooking, as Eco mandate, we've been able to do the solar cooking to over 100 families. Some of them, we have about 20 families in Rakanidi. In Kakuma last year, we had a big event, solar cooking festival, where we impacted over 600 participants and gave them free solar cookers. And some of them, so far, they are using them at home in the refugee camp. And in Isiolo also, we've had several trainings in the Isiolo, which is an eastern town in Kenya. And so the idea is still at the beginning stage, but it's picking up very fast.